Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Dr. Glenn is a clinical psychologist and former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leaving the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Before we get started, if you haven't downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's very good, Dr. Glenn Livingston. I'm here with Kimberly, who is a kind-hearted woman that's agreed to share her session with you so you can benefit from her story and experience and strength and hope and wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Right, Kimberly?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, I have had a lifelong struggle with eating and weight. I grew up in a house where there was lots of good food, but also a lot of turmoil. And I think that I learned early in the game, like a lot of people do, that food is where you find comfort and love, and that's the happiness. And so I was kind of a plump little kid, but when I became a teenager, I figured out that that wasn't going to do. And I figured out that smoking cigarettes and drinking Diet Cola would help you stay slim, me and all my friends.
Oh.
It was the 1970s. You have to forgive me.
Do you remember what Gilda Radner said on that infamous Saturday Night Live skit?
Yes, vaguely. I'm remembering something.
She did this Saturday Night Live skit where she was having sweet and low in her coffee and smoking cigarettes. And she said, because boys prefer skinny girls with cancer to heavy girls without it.
Oh my God, yes. And of course, later when she
died of cancer, it was really sad.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So.
Yeah. Well, I got married young. My husband and I are still married. We've been married for 40 years. I got pregnant when I was 22. I was only 18 when we got married. And when I was pregnant, it was 1984. She was born in 1985. And it was the first time in my life, it seemed to me, that nobody was telling me not to eat. And I gained 60 pounds during that pregnancy and gained some more after that. When you have a child, as a woman, you say to people, well, I gained weight during my pregnancy, but that child is 20 years old. It stops being an excuse to say, oh, I just had a baby. No, 20 years ago, and she's 36 now. At any rate, I developed gestational diabetes, and it did not go away. For some women, after the baby's born, it goes away. It did not with me. I have been a type 2 diabetic my entire adult life. And it's been a real struggle. Sometimes I ignored it. Early in the game, it's not an uncomfortable disease and is really asymptomatic. And so I could ignore it. But it got to the point once I got into my 50s, I'm 58 now, I couldn't ignore it. I started to have a lot of problems with my eyes, and I have lost and gained the same 50 pounds over and over and over again. And 2019, at that point, at the end of 2019, I was 220 pounds, 5'6", so at least 80 pounds overweight, living a great life, really, but starting to have a lot of symptoms because of the type 2 diabetes. I was losing my eyesight. My doctor was saying, we're seeing changes in your kidney values, those numbers that come up on those tests. My feet are kind of numb. Just all these niggling little things that were getting bad. And my husband really being concerned for me. And he was talking about retiring so that we could travel and do things. And I was feeling like I was in a very bad place, even though outwardly among my friends and my community, they probably would not have thought that. They would have said, oh, Kim's awesome. Yeah, she's got a tummy and a little junk in the trunk, but she's okay, But nope, inside I was definitely not okay. I think I've started a new diet every Monday my entire life. Your message was the first I had heard of looking at things in this way. Previous to that, it was always a diet and it's what are you eating? And if there was any psychological bent on it, it was always, it's not what you're eating, it's what eating you, and going back to look at childhood and that kind of thing. And that just didn't get me anywhere. But this really did. And I can officially say that I am, as of this morning, 60 pounds lighter than I was in probably like mid 2019. And I got another 10, 20 pounds to go. But I am a completely new person.
You're contrasting this with the diets that you've been on, and you've lost weight before. So tell me a little bit more where the confidence is coming from that this is the one that sticks.
In the past, I did Weight Watchers and all kinds of other things, all the commercial stuff, as well as my own things that I would dream up. And I took nutrition courses at a college trying to treat myself or figure out all of this. It was always in the back of my mind, even though I might have paid lip service to it being different. Each time I felt like, well, this is different, dang it. This time I'm really going to do it. In the back of my mind, it was always temporary. It was always, as soon as I lose this weight, I can go back to normal. I can go back to having a normal life and being more relaxed and eating what I like. And I'll just figure out how to maintain it once I get there. To me, it's about completely changing your headspace, not just your eating landscape, but your entire headspace. Like getting a brain transplant for that part of your brain. You still get to be you. In fact, you get to be more of you, if that makes any sense, because the pig, if you will, starts taking up less space.
Tell me more about that. What got transplanted into your brain? Can you give me any specific examples that really made a difference?
The refutations are huge. I don't know. I think we all grew up with the idea that if you're walking around muttering to yourself, you probably have a mental problem. But actually, we all are having a constant dialogue in our head. I love the question, and I've read it in other books, this idea of who are you, the person who's speaking inside your head or the person who's listening? That idea of taking that one step further and saying, actually, there is this constant dialogue. And it is really between this survival drive, animal instinct part of you that makes us human, or not really human, more of like a human animal. And then the person that is you, that is a collection of all of your experiences and knowledge, and it's what makes you uniquely you. Learning how to do the refutations, focusing on the big why. I don't know, you've just managed to put this all together in a way that really gelled in my head. Not quickly. I had to keep fighting the good fight for almost a year before it really gelled. And that was the reason why I decided to do the intensive, because I literally wanted to drive what I was learning into my DNA, that I would never forget it, never let the old ways slip back in. Never be done. I don't want to be done. I want to keep doing this forever. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. That's what I mean by becoming a person who just is naturally healthy, makes naturally healthy choices, and naturally separates their constructive thoughts about food from their destructive ones, and makes a conscious and purposeful choice to identify and act on the constructive ones and to leave the destructive ones behind. Are there any example refutations that worked really well for you?
One of my biggest pig squeals, and of course I didn't know it was a pig squeal because I didn't know about the pig. I just thought it was my thinking or that I was deficient in some way. But one of my biggest pig squeals has always been, go ahead and eat whatever you want now. You can start again on Monday. I spent years and years and years Sunday night writing down detailed diet plans that would be started tomorrow, Monday. And by Wednesday or Thursday, I gave up. It became too hard. The pig would constantly be telling me, yeah, let's go out to dinner. Let's get some pizza. You can do this later. You can start again on Monday. And definitely you blew it, so screw it. Kind of an attitude like, I ate such and such and I wasn't supposed to. So I'll start again on Monday. So that was one of my biggest squeals, and being able to refute that, being able to say, no, you will do this forever. They will bury you in the ground on a Monday. Like really being able to look at that and realize that you can do this your entire life. Give up, start again, give up, start again. At some point, the cycle has to be broken. And you're either going to give up permanently or you're going to start and not give up ever. I'm going to drive this into my head, dang it. I'm never going to give up. And so the never give up response to the pig squeal, just give up, you can start later. That has been huge for me. That has been my biggest refutation.
That's life-changing. Only ever use the present moment to be healthy, and there's no cleanup crew. Like one of my clients once said, there's no cleanup crew coming tomorrow to fix what you did today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that has made a huge difference in my thinking. And also focusing on that big why. I've written it and rewritten it probably 100 times, changing things up or thinking up something new that should be added. And that really helps with that particular refutation. No, I'm not giving up. And this is why. This is why. All these people who care about me and I care about them, and I love my life. You know, I live on the Oregon coast at the beach. I grew up on the Long Island beaches, so the ocean is very important to me. I can't imagine a piece of pizza being more important than that. And I don't know why I ever did. I look back at the way I used to think, and I look at friends and family members who still think that old way, and I weirdly can't relate to it anymore.
Yeah, you manage to separate from that survival drive gone wrong. And if you lose your vision, you can't appreciate the beach the same way, right?
No, definitely not. And if I lose my feet, how am I going to walk on it?
Right, right. The match that struck the fire and got you started with Never Binge Again was the physical deterioration due to diabetes and your recognition of all that you stood to lose. What kept you going? Why do you keep going now? You're about 10 or 20 pounds from goal weight. What keeps you going?
The process has become fun. And that is really different than the way I used to think. Every Monday when I would start those diets, or I would go off to a meeting, or I would buy yet another book that I would start reading, it was painful. Like I would have that excitement and almost a little addiction to the process of like, ooh, maybe I've discovered something new now. But it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And this is actually exciting and fun, and watching the weight come off, watching my life change.
What's fun about it?
Well, I like to learn new things, but mostly what's fun about it is, I don't know if this sounds weird or not, but I'm kind of tripping off the idea of freedom. I feel very free now and very much at peace. We had a big holiday party this past week at our house. It's something we do every year to celebrate the winter solstice, which is today, by the way, the actual winter solstice.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, today is the first day of winter. And so we had this celebration with friends, and our daughter and her husband were here, and it was lovely. And people brought all kinds of treats into my house, all kinds of food. And there ended up being this huge pile on my dining room table. It's still there. I can turn my head right now and see it because I'm here in my house. There's this pile there of cookies and candy and stuff that I'm planning to bring to a party that is actually tonight at somebody else's house to share. It doesn't call to me at all. I can look right at it and it doesn't say, ooh, come on, come and have a bite of this. And oh, that's so good. And I feel so free and so at peace. It's amazing.
Better than any piece of pizza used to taste, right?
Oh, yeah. Or better than the chocolate covered popcorn that is sitting literally 10 feet away from me. I have no interest in it.
Nothing tastes as good as food freedom feels.
Yes, it's true. And feeling the new feelings in my body, I have so much more energy. I get to go to those every 3-month check-ins with my doctor and have her exclaim about like, oh my gosh, you lost another 10 pounds. You know, what are you doing? And let me tell you what keeps me on this diet. And it's not a diet. It's just a totally new way of life that I'm very happy and satisfied with. And when I look at how it's evolved over this time, I would have never guessed in 1,000 years that I would be doing what I'm doing. I really wouldn't. If you had told me you're going to go the whole day and not eat a snack, I would have said, oh, you're crazy. You know?
Yeah, that was the pig talking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Kimberly, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? Anything you want people to know? This has been fantastic.
Actually, the only thing I can imagine telling you, and that I would want to encourage anybody who's out there listening to this, who is maybe on the fence, do it. Because I had already lost 50 pounds and was going great guns on this, but I was feeling not discouraged in any way. Again, that feeling of like, how can I really drive this into my head in a way that will make me feel peaceful and totally secure with it?
How much money were you spending on binge food before?
Oh, going out to restaurants. We went out to restaurants a lot. I mean, we still go out to restaurants, but my husband and I will split an entree, something that he used to suggest all the time before. But the pig in my head would go, what are you, crazy? I'm not sharing my food with you. So some of the packaged foods are more expensive than fresh foods. Making beans and rice and then having a modest amount of it so that that pot lasts half the week is obviously way cheaper than buying convenience foods. But just looking at what we call our social entertainment budget, it's been cut in half because we just don't go out as much as we used to. And when I say go out a lot, I'm saying out to dinner 4 or 5 times a week.
Wow.
Where it was just like, I'm too busy. I don't want to cook. You know what sounds really good? Going over to that restaurant up in town and getting the pasta and the bread and blah, 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 blah. So we just don't do that anymore. We go out maybe a couple of times a week, maybe a lunch. But like I said, now we generally split something. And so it's way cheaper. And I'm amazed at how satisfied I can feel with a half a sandwich or a cup of soup and feel like I had a great lunch. Whereas in the past, the cup of soup would have been just starting the meal. And the idea of having a half a sandwich would have been like, are you kidding me? I'll starve to death. So this has been really awesome. I would be just taking a massive guess, but I'd say I'm saving at least $600-700 a month, maybe $1,000.
Wow. How much time are you saving from not having to recover from binges all the time?
There was the rare occasion that I would really overeat to the point of being sick or needing to recover the next day or later that day or whatever. I was more of a chronic, all the time overeating, just by a few bites, just a little more.
I see.
I did a lot of eating, having a second portion or something. But you know what I have saved is a massive amount of worry and headspace and stress that I know took away from all the other stuff I could have been doing. Even if I wasn't sitting on the couch feeling sick, I was doing a lot of sitting on the couch, ruminating and feeling scared and feeling worried and feeling bad about myself. And things that I didn't do in the past because I was ashamed. Nothing fits. Everything is too tight again. Forget it. I don't want to go to that party. I don't want to go to that gathering. Just a lot of those feelings, dreading trips where I would be seeing family and that kind of thing, and knowing that all eyes would be on me at some point. That was awful. That took up time. Absolutely. So,
Kimberly, you've been terrific. It sounds like we could have talked for an hour or two.
Yeah, the pig is gone. We're done. I mean, yeah, it's still there and I got to keep an eye on it, but it's not bothering me anymore. It's really not.
You asserted your superiority.
Yes.
Believe it or not, no matter where the listener is, no matter how much they believe that they're not superior to the destructive thoughts that they have about food, you actually are.
Yes.
You're physiologically wired to win, and you can do it.
And I can't thank you enough. I just can't.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. If you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.